And good morning and welcome to The Jungle. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist with Leica Partners. We use The Jungle to talk about new businesses and business ventures and how they kind of get their name out into the market. My guest this morning is Kuda Biza. He is with a company called Nunbelievable. So, Kuda, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good. So, tell us what Nunbelievable is.
Yeah, Nunbelievable is a mission-based cookie company. For every cookie that we sell, we donate a meal to feed someone in need.
Oh, nice.
So we're really basically fighting hunger one cookie at a time.
Got it. So a little bit kind of like Tom's shoes. Like if you buy a pair of shoes, then they send a pair of shoes. That kind of model.
Yeah. So we're the Tom's shoes of the baked goods world.
Okay. Well, that's good, right? Because I mean that ties into everybody's desire right now. Specifically, I think, as they stay at home, and it's always a good thing to have something sweet to eat while we're watching all the Netflix movies and things like that.
Yeah. Eating will always be a necessity. So I think we're in the right space.
Yeah. So tell me about how you kind of came up with this idea, how this got started for you.
Yeah. So as you heard from the name, Nunbelievable, we were actually inspired by a group of nuns. So, yeah. So a gentleman was on his way to San Francisco. So when he was on a flight, he read about a group of nuns that were being evicted. And when he landed over there, he decided to go find out what was happening and figure out ways for him to help. So, he learned that the nuns were, a couple of months behind rent. So helped them with their rent. And then called a few friends, and they were able to sort out their housing situation. But through this, they realized that the nuns were baking cookies and selling the cookies at farmers markets and using part of the proceeds to support a soup kitchen to feed people.
Okay.
And in that moment, the gentleman was like, you know what? Why don't we create a brand and really take what these nuns are doing, to the next level? Because, they weren't really thinking about going to retail. They were just happy with, the farmers markets. So that's how the vision came about. And how I got involved is I actually used to work for a company called Newell Brands. They're based in Atlanta, their headquarters.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I used
Just
to
around the corner from them. So yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So when I was there, when I got hired, my role was to come up with transformational businesses. So one of the businesses that I launched was a food meal delivery service under the Crock-Pot brand. So, we created a business called Crock-Pot Cuisine. So I was able to have a lot of experience within the food space and also selling it online. So when this guy had this vision and he was really looking for an entrepreneur who understood the food space, who also had experience with e-commerce, but more importantly, when I was in college, I started a social mission, like the Tom's Shoes in the apparel space. It was a t-shirt company where we donated a portion of our proceeds to educate children. So I ticked, all the boxes. So I was at Newell, running an $80 million division, and I got this call saying like, hey, would you be interested in running a cookie company that's mission-based? And a lot of my friends thought I was crazy when I decided to quit, right, to leave corporate America and join a startup. But for me, it was really something that was personal because I grew up in Zimbabwe, in Africa. And while I was there was a drought that hit us when I was like maybe 7 years old. So I got to experience what hunger is firsthand during that drought. You would go to bed without food. I would hear of people who live in my grandma's village in some of the remote parts of Zimbabwe starving to death, people who I knew. So, for me, it was more around, let me do something that really gives me fulfillment, right? I'd been in corporate America for more than a decade. I'd built multi-million-dollar businesses. I had done all of that. But here was a unique opportunity for me to really apply all of this knowledge that I gained in really doing something that made a difference. And when I also started reading about some of the statistics about the hunger crisis in the US, for me it was startling, right? Pre-COVID, close to 40 million Americans were food insecure. That's more than the population in Canada.
Wow.
So when you start thinking about it, there are more hungry people in America than there are, people in Canada. It's really a big issue. So that's how I got involved.
Yeah, what's interesting about any entrepreneur I talk with is you do things in your past and you have no idea how those things are going to all tie together in the future. Just like, oh, I did this thing and it was this crazy job, or I did this thing. And then all of a sudden, when you get back into your entrepreneurial venture, you realize all those things kind of came together to get you where you are today. So talk to me a little bit about then how the business works. Like, how do you get the word out? Are you mostly delivering kind of like online, or is it talk to me about that distribution and how you kind of approach the business?
Yeah, so the business is fairly young. We're just a year old.
Okay.
So we were just still starting out. And right now, we are primarily e-commerce based. So we sell on our website, nunbelievable.com. We've also recently started selling on Amazon. So we have a presence on Amazon. And we're in the works of, securing retail placements with some of your favorite retailers. So hopefully, within the next few months, customers will be able to find us in aisle in some of those retail outlets. So, right now it's really direct to consumer. That's our business model. And, for me, that's the business model I know. That's the business model I understand. And we're able to really grow and scale the business significantly, over the past year that we've been in market. And the traction to date is that we've been able to provide meals to more than 300,000 people who've been struggling with meals. When we first started, our business model was a little bit different in terms of impact. We would donate a meal for every 6 cookies. And a few months ago, we're actually able to shift that because of the scale and the traction we had to a 1-for-1 model, where for every cookie that we sell, we donate a meal. And we're able to do that through, the efficiencies that some of our partners have. We work with World Vision, a fairly large, nonprofit organization that is, fighting so many issues, from disaster relief to issues like education and hunger, to other smaller soup kitchens across the country. So we have about 8 or 9 partners that we work with in our fight for hunger.
Nice. And so you figured out how to kind of do the distribution side, because I was going to ask you on the meal side, like making cookies is one thing, but then getting meals to people is completely different. So you've got two distribution models you got to work out on getting the word out. So what's worked the best for you? I mean, you're in that, it's a feel good nonprofit space kind of thing, but still sometimes that can be very difficult to get people either signed up or to understand it. So how have you gotten your message out to the marketplace?
Yeah, so initially when we started, the gentleman I spoke about, when I said he learned about the nuns, that gentleman happens to be Tony Robbins.
Oh, wow.
Tony Robbins is, the guy who kind of came up with this idea. And now I work closely with him and his team in bringing this vision to light. So when we first went out to market, we really leveraged his community and his network. We went to his events, and it really helped us gain traction in the beginning.
Yeah.
But after that, we really focused on what we know, right? Which is driving traffic to websites. So for me, that's my superpower. So, things like running paid social campaigns, connecting with influencers to drive traffic to the website, and, other tactics that, we can get a little bit technical if you want, but that's how we've really driven traffic to the website and gaining traction. But I think the thing that has really stood out for me is that the product has been kind of like our biggest driver in terms of traffic, because what we're seeing in terms of repurchase rates are quite high from what I've seen even when I was at Newell.
Right.
So we have a really delicious product. Customers love it. So 2 things happen. Number one, they reorder. And number 2, they refer others because they want others to enjoy the experience. So we're seeing a lot of customers leveraging our refer a friend program, and we're also seeing our loyalty program where people get to build points grow significantly. The majority of our customers are actually part of our loyalty points program, which is really, really encouraging.
That's nice. So you've got lots of different components of it that sometimes aren't considered in, well, you're a nonprofit, but you're, kind of not, right? You've got all these kind of interesting components of having the point system and rewards. It reminds me a little bit of, I'm a part of a group called, a website called Naked Wines. And so they support local wine growers. And so you pay a monthly fee, and then you get wine, but you also get points for having purchased it. And you're supporting kind of the local farmer and the local kind of grower of wines. So very interesting. So as you think about, and Tony Robbins doesn't hurt, right? Having that kind of backup.
Yeah, I mean, he's known by a few people, so it's helpful.
Yeah, we've been watching Undercover Billionaire, and like Grant Cardone is on there. And I didn't know who he was until I was like, oh, that's Grant Cardone, of course, right? So yeah. So tell me a little bit then. So you've been in business about a year, but it sounds like, it's going really well. So what are some of the thoughts about what you guys want to either grow the business into? What's next for you and what you're doing?
Yeah, I think for us, we always just focus on what we have right now in terms of really maximizing and scaling. So as I mentioned before, I think the next big thing for us is really cracking retail. So we're actively pursuing those opportunities, and hopefully we'll be able to align with a couple of retailers to really start bringing our product in shelf. So that's our number one priority. We're also looking into channels that a lot of brands don't usually think about. So one channel that we're thinking about is the hospitality and airline space. I mean, travel might be down a little bit right now, but the best time to attack is now, right? When other people are not really focusing on it. So we're really working on building and establishing those relationships. And the other channels for us that we were really focused on is the corporate channel. So one thing that we've realized is that, businesses are still operating, right? Things might not be great, but people are still, doing whatever they can to drive business. So there's two opportunities there. The first one is employee engagement. So if you're an HR executive, what best way to keep your employees engaged, especially if they're working from home, than to send them, a gift of delicious cookies just to remind them that, they're important and they're providing value to your company and they're making a difference. So, for us, we're really looking into ways where we can really crack through the employee engagement channel. But also on the flip side, with your customers, clients, partners, vendors, I think it's a good way for you to leverage Nunbelievable to really establish or strengthen those relationships with your clients and your vendors. So we're looking into ways where we can really penetrate those channels. So for salespeople to use us as a gift of choice, I think it's powerful because not only are they giving that recipient a box of cookies, they're also providing meals for people in need. So now think about it as a sales force. If you start also tracking the impact in terms of the number of people that you've fed as you've been growing your business. So I think there's so many tie-ins that we can offer within the corporate world, both from an employee engagement perspective as well as a corporate gifting perspective, that will not only help strengthen your business, but it will also give you an impact element that you can measure that currently you might not have.
Very interesting. I love how you've thought about this business. It's so often that people are very narrow-minded about what they're doing and how they're approaching it. And you've got multiple ways of giving back, but also getting the product distributed and talking about it and ways of connecting it. So really smart. That's a really great way to think about it. As you talk with other companies that are kind of in this space, because we're still in the middle of this craziness, right? And so you're delivering something to the people's homes, and a lot of people haven't really figured out how to pivot that yet. what's some recommendations or some conversations you've been having with other entrepreneurs like you who are trying to survive their business until we get to whatever the other side of this is?
Yeah, well, I think simplicity, right? Like sometimes we overcomplicate things. So if you really just think about how can you simplify your business model, and extract efficiencies, I think that would be the first way. So in a more practical sense, in our case, it was like, okay, can we find a partner, i.e., a fulfillment center that can just simplify the process for us? They have the process, the infrastructure, the systems, and all we just have to do is send them the inventory, and they do everything for us, which simplifies life for us. We can really focus on marketing, and then they focus on the delivery. So that's what we did. Some people try to then build the infrastructure themselves, which ultimately down the road might be cost effective. But when you're starting out, and if you're trying to build the capability, you really need to figure out what's priority, and also how can you simplify things, because the more complex you make it, the harder it is for you to actually go to market and deliver the efficiencies that you'd want to deliver. So I think that would be the point of advice I would give people, to say like, hey, complexity is the enemy of success. Simplify the process, find partners that are really efficient and know what they're doing in what you're trying to accomplish. Figure out that one or two core capabilities that you're really good at, really focus on that and do that really, really well. And then, the other areas, look for other subject matter experts that really know those areas really, really well. So that not only are you giving them business as well, right? But they're also going to be able to service your customers in the most efficient manner. So that would be the advice I would give them.
That's great advice. And if you think about, I don't know your age, but back in the day they had Webban, so they tried to build their own infrastructure and deliver meals and things. And now we're all surviving off of, Instacart or others that pick things up from the local grocery store that already exists, right? So everybody kind of lives in their railing. What do they do well? So that's that, delivery versus trying to build the overall infrastructure. You talked a little bit about the distribution, having the product made and kind of sent out from an inventory perspective. Tell me about partnering with the organizations that are giving the meals. So do they come to your website and apply, and then how do you manage that side of the business? Because it sounds like I've done a couple of I've sat on a couple of boards where we've distributed grant money to shelters and things, and so you have to go through how do you do that side of the business? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so from an impact perspective, these are relationships that we've built over time. So World Vision, for example, we through our network, people who've actually volunteered and gone on trips and done a lot of outreach with them were part of our ecosystem, and they were able to facilitate those conversations. And I personally knew about World Vision because remember the drought that I mentioned when I was in Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
World Vision was one of the first organizations that showed up in Southern Africa to help us. We also do have our own due diligence process where there are certain things that we evaluate, certain third-party websites that we consult to just make sure that these guys actually do what they say that they're going to do. Like in the nonprofit world, there are different platforms that you can go and check and analyze and understand the impact model for a certain partner that you want to work with. So we do consult those types of services. But what we believe in doing is not just talking the talk. We also believe in walking the walk. So what do I mean by that? We actually do go to the soup kitchens and volunteer our time and really see what those organizations are doing. So I'll give you an example. On Valentine's Day last year, we actually went and partnered with our partner here in New York City called New York City Relief. And we spent the day doing outreach with them, feeding people at that soup kitchen, and we're able to really see and understand the impact that they do. And one of the things that we had started doing before COVID really locked everything down was we started bringing our customers along. So you would actually just go on our website and fill out a volunteer form, and you would join us at the soup kitchens so that you actually get to see the impact that your purchase makes. But obviously with the lockdown, things, have become a little bit more complicated around that. So we put a pause on that, but we're hoping that pretty soon we'll be able to bring that back, because it just heightens the experience with the customer, right? Because when you buy a box of cookies and you hear that, oh, they're feeding people, it's one thing, right? You feel good and you know that you've done good. But for you to actually then come and see it and talk to the person that's getting to get a meal because of your purchase, it's totally different. So that's how we're handling the impact model. We're always looking for ways to improve in that area. And we're also looking for other partners to work with as we grow. So we'll continuously improve and evolve that process to make sure that we're being efficient in our distribution of our impact as possible.
Very, very nice. So, important question before we wrap up. What's your favorite cookie?
It's the oatmeal raisin. That's my favorite cookie. But, you can never ask a parent who's your favorite child.
Right.
But in this case, for me, I'm just really an oatmeal guy. So like for breakfast, I usually have oatmeal. So oatmeal raisin had to be part of the portfolio. But a lot of our clients love the chocolate chip and the peanut butter flavor. And then the double chocolate, which is a gluten-free flavor, is obviously top of mind with our gluten-free folks. But I'm excited about what's to come. In Q1, we're going to launch 6 new flavors.
Oh, nice.
So, it's exciting because right now we only have 4, and then we're going to add 6, so we're going to have 10. So the first 4 that we're going to launch in a couple of weeks are going to be shortbread cookies. 2 of the cookies actually use an ingredient called baobab, which is an African ingredient. So I'm obviously excited about that, but it's important for 2 things. Number one, the way that ingredient is sourced, we're really helping women in Africa get higher wages and have a better livelihood through that. But secondly, that ingredient is super, super healthy. It's kind of like a superfood, high in vitamins, antioxidants, and so forth and so forth. So not only are you going to be having a delicious shortbread cookie, you're also going to be getting a lot of vitamins and antioxidants as you eat it. So I'm super excited for that launch. And then the other 2 flavors that we're going to be launching are keto cookies. So we've received a lot of inquiries from people who have diabetes or who are just looking to have less sugar. So we decided to come up with 2 keto flavors that we're going to launch. So I think that's going to really excite people and actually bring new customers in. So we're excited for those flavors as well.
Well, it sounds like we can have cookies for breakfast now.
Yeah, you can, and lunch and dinner.
Which really, muffins and cupcakes are no different, right? One has icing, the other doesn't. They're the same thing. So anyway, yeah. Well, it's been great speaking with you this morning. It's a great thing that you guys are doing. We'll put all the information in show notes so that way people can get to the website, that type of thing. I've been talking this morning with Kuda Biza. He's with Nunbelievable. So just like it sounds, Nunbelievable. And you've been listening to The Jungle. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist with Liger Partners. Thanks for tuning in.